What, like? So once again, I've come across something that's anti-racist related. I think it's actually quite noteworthy, if I'm being honest. Unfortunately, though, as I've said before, due to me trying to stay away from Telegram for the time being, kind of having to rely on, hopefully, at least one or two individuals taking the link when I post it in the description and running with it, doing whatever they will, whether that's Twitter or otherwise. But regardless, sometimes, and it's very rare that this does occur, admittedly, but sometimes you do come across stuff where they kind of unveil a slight slither of what they're doing because, by and large, a good portion of this so-called anti-racist policy, etc., seems to be sort of shaded in mystery. They seem to be working behind the scenes, which I find relatively questionable, to be honest. But I presume they've got that excuse covered, probably to avoid any abuse and whatnot. Same way they accused all of us a few years ago of being white supremacists for having the temerity to call them out on Twitter. But regardless, this is the document in question. It's only 3 pages, but came out in November 26, 2024. And it's a report by the Chief Officer, Education and Children's Services regarding building racial literacy and awareness of anti-racism. It goes on to say here that the purpose of this report is to brief the members of the or on the requirement for education and children's services in the Western Isles to build racial literacy and embed anti-racist practice. The vision, values, and call to action from the National Discussion on Education highlighted the importance of a curriculum that advances human rights, equity, inclusivity, and an appreciation of diversity to recognise, respect, and represent the unique talents, characteristics, needs, interests, and potential of all learners. Identifying principles such as anti-racist education has been essential in creating a contemporary curriculum that prepares learners for the modern world. Okay. It then says that with a view to changing the curriculum as part of the government's anti-racism and education programme, Education Scotland supported the co-design of the anti-racist curriculum principles, right? And I've made videos, etc., on that in the past. Education Scotland developed the Building Racial Literacy programme, which is obviously the critical race theory programme that's literally run by self-declared critical race theorists, you know. But penny for some doesn't seem to drop. They just hear the words anti-racist, and that seems to be the end of the discussion. But regardless, programme with the aspirational goal of making every educator in Scotland racially literate. All right. This is where it starts to get somewhat interesting, though. Two members of education and children's services staff joined cohort 4 of the Building Racial Literacy programme, which ran from October 2023 to March of 2024. Attending this course involved preparing a Building Racial Literacy Action Plan. In August of 2024, one member of education and the children's service staff attended further training on leading effective anti-racist professional learning, and they're now an anti-racism mentor. Now, they don't elaborate on who this individual is. Again, why? I wonder. The expectation from Education Scotland is that staff who attend this training work with others to develop plans to build racial literacy and anti-racist practice across education and children's services in the Western Isles. For this to be effective, the understanding and support of members of elected members and senior members within education and children's services is essential. And then it goes on to say here a wee bit more of information, which is a rarity. As a first step to begin the awareness raising process, it is proposed that a seminar on promoting anti-racist education in Scotland is offered to all council members. And additionally, they say here a session on promoting anti-racist education in Scotland will be included in the Education and Children's Services Senior Managers Conference coming up next month. Further action to be considered following awareness raising could include senior managers within education and children's services developing an anti-racism plan for education and children's services around the 4 themes of the government's anti-racism and education programme. So, there's that. I could not pronounce that even if I wanted to. I think it's Gaelic. Pretty sure it just means council, the Western Isles Council. But agreed to arrange a seminar for elected members on promoting anti-racist education in Scotland and supporting building racial literacy and awareness of anti-racism within education and children's services in the Western Isles is the recommendations. Then a wee contact officer. I'm wondering if this is the aforementioned anti-racist mentor, Sally Kane, principal education psychologist. So there's a wee bit more, but obviously just their proposed training and other actions aims to build racial literacy within education and children's services and hence reduce the risk to council from legal action relating to racism and race-related unconscious bias. Building racial literacy and awareness of anti-racist practice within education and children's services supports the council's commitment to equality and diversity. And a consultation will be a future action, and it will be important to consult with learners, education and children's service staff and parents, particularly those who identify as Black, Indigenous and people of colour when developing anti-racist policy and practice. I mean, quite how they can get away with using terminology like that in Scotland is fucking remarkable. Black, Indigenous in Scotland. Really, you're having a laugh, but this is where we're at now at this point. Just copy and pasted terms that have come straight from across the pond in America. But that's where the shit derived from to begin with anyway. It's fucking nonsense. But then you get a bit of background there. I love this little paragraph. The history of Scotland includes involvement with the transatlantic slave trade, colonialism and racism. Outdated ideas and beliefs of racial inferiority and superiority associated with this past continue to exist in contemporary Scottish society. These ideas influence the thinking of the communities that people in Scotland grew up in and bias the curriculum in schools and universities that they attended. People are often unaware that these ideas continue to influence their thinking and are unaware of the negative impact that these ideas continue to have on all members of our communities, but disproportionately on the members of our communities who are Black, Indigenous, on people of colour. Thank fuck that we've got the anti-racist gurus with their seriously high IQ in order to come in and save the day and re-educate us and put all of the wrongs in this world right. Jesus, it's ridiculous, man. In embedding anti-racist practice in the Western Isles, it will be important to recognise that racism is an issue for all people, although it's Black, Indigenous and people of colour who are disproportionately affected. Further actions to be considered following awareness raising could include senior managers within education, child services developing an anti-racist plan. And then it goes on to say, sorry, I'm starting to second guess myself there. I'm convinced that this is like a copy and paste from the previous page. It's similar anyway. But the themes that they've suggested is curriculum reform, diversity in the teaching profession and education workforce, education leadership and learning, racism and racist incidents. And it was this back in the day where I found, it was on the Scottish Government's website where it literally said, critical race theory. That's what this was about, you know. Not that you need to be too intelligent to figure that one out yourself if you just like look at the shit they come away with. But yeah, so this is seemingly in the pipeline for the Western Isles, you know, and then you get some little hyperlinks there, cheeky reaction guides. King Jesus, man. Teaching in a diverse Scotland. Oh my God, September 2024. I'm not going through all this, but I'll just have a wee gander. Since I'm here, minority ethnic teachers continue to be underrepresented at almost all levels within Scotland's teaching profession, and addressing this is a vital step to meeting the Scottish Government's ambition of creating an education system that is fundamentally anti-racist. In short, the government wants Scotland's education system to be one where every teacher has equity of opportunities to embark upon, sustain and progress their careers. So it's no quality of opportunity, it's no meritocracy. No, we need to implement deliberately racist policies while pretending it's anti-racist in nature, when realistically all it is pointing to disparities that exist naturally and organically due to demography, etc. And they in turn insinuate it's racism, they insinuate that bias exists, they insinuate that the system in and of itself needs to be changed because of racism and systemic issues and all that fucking nonsense, which basically just boils down to shoehorn brown people into these positions and fuck the white man. That's basically it in a nutshell. But you know, I'm sure the gurus have got a better way of wording it. The government remains absolutely committed to supporting local authorities and other education employers and diversifying their workforce. That's so. That's what we fucking need. That's absolutely what we need. I'll leave the link to this as well because it's 25 pages. But I'm just seeing if there's any like, what's this? Recruitment materials, advertising and job descriptions, what we want to achieve and what we need to do to make this happen. Actively review and monitor all recruitment materials and language and redesign to ensure that they are anti-racist and free from bias. Fuck off. I mean, I would love to hear these people pointing to like the Police Scotland advertisements that you always see littered around the place all over the internet and YouTube adverts and whatnot, where there's never ever a white man. And they're always actively hiring or looking for more brown, black, and white women. Never men, though. That's fine. It's anti-racist, of course. Develop and employ and embed anonymized applications in the recruitment process by ensuring that identification details are hidden from candidates' applications. Develop and actively promote interview processes that are free from bias and ensure recruitment panels reflect the diversity of Scotland as much as possible. I mean, I love this shit. So they want recruitment panels to reflect the alleged diversity of Scotland, albeit it's still like 90% plus white. But regardless, what they really mean when you kind of just read between the lines is they want to shoehorn in brown and black activists into these positions, such as on recruitment panels, which will then in turn allow for these people to prioritize the role when it comes to hiring. Ensure that all staff and interview recruitment panels participate in bespoke racial literacy professional learning programs, and this happens annually. Race equality is to be embedded into the culture and ethos of the local authority. Oh my God, man. Recruitment process. There is an offer of engagement for BAME candidates before, during, and after the recruitment processes. This process becomes normal practice for every candidate who applies. Beautiful stuff. So progressive. Opportunities for serving BAME teachers to be involved as role models to encourage and recruit BAME young people and adult returners into the teaching profession. Oh my God. And here's positive action. Here we go. All staff and interview recruitment panels involved in the recruitment process have participated in professional training that help them in understanding the positive action provisions in Section 158 of the Equality Act. Oh yeah, where it specifically basically says that you can shaft whitey. Yeah. Anyway, I think I will leave it there for now, but I will leave the link to this as well. I mean, this is fucking remarkable. You know, the worst part about this is that this is Scottish government material. You know, this isn't just some random PDF. This is like literally from our tin pot government. You know, that's what I find baffling. You know, you don't hear them talking about this shit, do you? When it comes to election cycles or, you know, TV appearances. No, this is the slimy bullshit that they're getting up to behind the scenes, though. You know? So, there is that. Anyway, I think I will leave it at that. Yeah. See you later. Adios.